Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel with myself, Isabella. So great to see you here today. If you're new here, click that subscribe button so you never miss another video. Now today we're going to be talking about something very popular with you all, especially in the ballet world, which is turnout. Now, you have probably heard your teacher say turn out more 1,000 times, especially if you're someone like me who always struggled with it. Now, when you guys look at my Vaganova videos and you see my turnout and also my flexibility, it's quite hard to understand and believe that I ever struggled with it, but I definitely did. I've just worked insanely hard to make it better, but also to really understand it. Disclaimer, there are people out there who will say that, you know, there are hips and hip joints that definitely can't turn out as much as another person's, and yeah, that's true. Like, you know, depending on our hip shape and how the femur sits in the ball and socket, like, it's very possible that there is a limit to how much you can turn out, and everybody has a certain amount that they can improve, but there's many people out there who can improve it a lot. And if someone decides for you, you know, early on that actually you can't improve at all and you can't get any better and you can't improve your turnout and this is the maximum, or they say you don't have enough turnout, full stop, not you don't have enough turnout, let's try to improve it, just you don't have enough turnout and so you shouldn't dance, you shouldn't be a ballerina, you should go and do something else. And that was a scenario that I was in. So when I was younger, I had, and throughout my whole journey, huge desire to do ballet, huge desire to dance. I heard an amazing quote recently. It talks about how when you have desire along with faith, it makes things feel like the impossible can be possible, you know, and nothing seems impossible when you have the desire and the faith. And I had huge desire and I had faith in myself. Okay, so when I was at Tring Park, School of the Performing Arts, we did lots of things, not just ballet. And there was a head of dance there. And my turnout was definitely not 180 degrees, no way. I was standing maybe like this. I would say that was my turnout, and I was also slightly rolling in that position. So I was pronating in because I hadn't fully connected with the outside of my hips, and I was stiff as well. I wasn't flexible, and so all that was kind of making me roll inwards, and I was not connected with the wrap, like I always talk about now, the wrap, the inner thighs, and I didn't understand how to turn out. The only thing we were taught about turnout at that time was stand on the turnout discs and turn out and in, and it's like I didn't even know how to connect with the muscles on the turnout discs. You know, I was standing on the turnout discs and I couldn't even understand how to use the turnout disc to improve the turnouts, and so I just found myself, you know, gripping and really trying to wrap the legs, and it wasn't really getting me anywhere, you know, and I didn't do any kind of floor bar, nothing like this. And so I was one of the stiffer ones in the class. I wasn't told to stretch, I wasn't told to do anything particular for the turnout, I was just told I didn't have enough of it. And so my mum was told that I didn't have enough turnout and I shouldn't be doing ballet, right? And so my mum didn't actually tell me this, because at the time we were also seeing a Russian coach on the weekends because I wanted to improve my ballet and I knew that I had to put in extra work in order to get better. So I was seeing a Russian coach on the weekends, and you know, again, she was just saying you need to turn out more, you need to turn out, and she would really push me, but she was quite old-fashioned in that way. And so once again, like, she just told me to turn out, and I was struggling to turn out, but my muscles started to get used to turning out more with her. And so even though I hadn't had any kind of explanation of how to turn out at all and was just kind of forced, my muscles were then forced to adapt and work it out, as it were. And I was quite like an intelligent young girl, in the sense that, you know, not necessarily mathematically intelligent, but I could connect with my muscles quite easily. I was quite receptive to information that I was told. I could easily connect with muscles that I needed to. So if I knew I had to connect in a place, and if someone tells me to connect in my glute, or if someone touches an area and is like, you need to connect here, then I will be able to respond to that. So that was a good trait that I had. But nonetheless, my turnout was not an easy thing to sustain and retain. It felt very much like I was propping myself there. And as soon as I came away from the bar, I like couldn't hold it. I didn't even know how to hold the turnout because I'd been really kind of forcing it at the bar and putting myself in the positions rather than really understanding how to hold it. I started to get tight in the front of my hips, tighter. I still wasn't stretching as much as I should have been. And so I ended up having quite a few overuse injuries like in my hip flexors, which is why I'm very passionate now about relaying that to people, that it's important that, yes, obviously we need to use the hip flexors. They're very important for flexing the hip, and a lot of people are very passionate on social media about training hip flexors, and yes, that is great, we need them, but also for people like me who have like massively overused them before, and it's friggin' painful, and you get a lot of issues like tendonitis and stuff like that, which you just don't want. It's so hard to get rid of tendonitis. How you work the deep rotators and the glutes for me is absolutely critical and absolutely key. And so it's something that I spent hours on further in my training to really hone and really get correct. So whilst I was at Tring, I was told I shouldn't do ballet. I don't have enough turnout. Then I moved to the Royal Ballet School, and turnout at the Royal Ballet School, and you know, in England, it's not forced, it's not pushed. It's like, here's your range, and we work with what you've got. But even so, I didn't have as much turnout as other people. Like the test when you get into the Royal Ballet School and you have to, you know, open the leg out to the side and do the sort of glute stretch was always one that made me feel so stressed out, because I was like, I don't know if it's enough. You know, I didn't have hips where it was like, yeah, really easy. It was just like, yeah, not bad, like it would just get to 90. So, you know, my glutes were tight and my hips were tight, and there wasn't that range there. Did I think the range would come? Did I think the range could progress? Yeah, maybe. So then I started to really obsess over my turnout, and my mum became equally as obsessed, because all we kept hearing was not enough turnout, which is really stressful. And my mum's not a ballet dancer, like she didn't really even understand what that meant either, like how does one improve that? So we got kind of scientific about it, and I started going to physiotherapists like late at night after school in Richmond. And Richmond is not, for anyone that doesn't know, Richmond's not in the centre of London, and so it was like an hour's drive into the centre. And I would go to this physiotherapist, and he was like looking at my turnout, looking at my glutes and looking at my hips, and also measuring my turnout. They were excellent there. It was this it was called the Metis Clinic in Covent Garden, and you know, they did a lot of the theatre dancers, you know, not just the Royal Ballet people. I'm sure they did those people as well sometimes, but there's many theatres in Covent Garden, and so they did the West End show people, you know, the Lion King, all these kinds of people. And so when I was standing in turnout and he was measuring my hips, unlike at the Royal Ballet School audition, you know, you're not going to get any feedback, they're just kind of measuring you and taking notes, which is normal. He would be able to determine and probably feel whether there was potential there for improvement. And you know, I'm not a physiotherapist, so I can't tell you exactly why. I mean, I just am guessing that he would be able to tell that the shape of my hips, or how it was rolling around, or even the elasticity of my muscles. You know, potentially he could determine that there could be progress there if worked on. And so he was saying, right, your turnout at the moment is at 110 degrees. And he's like, oh, on your left leg, it's at 100. I mean, I can't remember exactly the degree. I'm just saying now, 100 degrees might be there. But yeah, he was like, on the other leg, it's like 110. So you have less turnout on this leg, you know, and this kind of nitty gritty detail. And then he was saying, I suspect by the time you're 18, it will be here. You know, you'll be flat turned out, likely so, with work and effort, hard graft, by the time you're 17, 18. And I was like 13 at the time. So I was like, even if there was no real promise of that, and obviously I had to work really hard, that was enough. That was enough to spur me on and be like, right, I'm going to do it then. I'm going to get it better. I'm not sure how yet. I've no idea how, but I'm going to work on it. And so that would be a big piece of advice, you know, find a fantastic physiotherapist who can also kind of tell you honestly how much you can expect to improve, because we can all improve. And I really dislike how on social media people get involved and say, I have hips like this, like there's no way I can get flat. And it's like, okay, let's say if you've had the advice, you've had the physiotherapy advice, and you've had someone look at you and they've said it's not possible for you to be flat, I doubt very much that they'll say that it's not possible for you to improve at all. Of course you can improve. We can all improve. It's just a case of how much when it's down to literal biology. But in terms of how much effort you want to put in, that's limitless. That's up to you. I had huge desire and faith. I really tried. Though my level of understanding of how to try was not there yet. So I did the clamshells and a little bit of stretching, but not much else. And I was just hoping really that it would get better. I wasn't doing much for it. Fast forward when I went to the Vaganova, and as we know, it's turn out or go home. And the first day, you know, we have to stand completely turned out, and that's expected of you, and no less. So my body was in shock, for sure. My muscles were not expecting that. My bones, my ligaments, my tendons were not expecting that. And so it became super clear to me that I had to stretch a lot to increase the range in my hips. And I did. I started to stretch a lot. And my stretching journey is one we can talk about in another video, that's also very long. But working on the flexibility in my hips was really critical to increase the range. And once I'd increased the range and I was doing daily exercises, daily hip exercises, still, let's say, basic hip exercises like the clamshells, you know, the Pilates exercises, which are very useful, but didn't really get me deeply connected with the deep rotators. And so fast forward, I then had time to rehabilitate later with my back and things like that. I still was overworking some tendons in my hips because I wasn't quite connected with the deep rotators yet. So I took real time to now start from scratch and really understand. By this point I was flat turned out in Vaganova, because I'd managed to make my muscles understand that that is where they need to stand, as well as the range in my hips was great. So I had big range. What I didn't have was big understanding of how to really connect and hone, even though I looked flat turned out by this stage. And that took a long time, very dedicated, endless amounts of exercises and stretching. But then further down the line, I started to do floor bar. I started to do floor bar and ballet in the water. I honestly came up with an entire technique in the swimming pool. I wish I could show it, and I'll think about how that's possible one day, because it was honestly amazing. I was rehabbing, you know, so I was very dedicated to my rehab, but I would spend like 4 hours in the pool just standing there doing very slow hip movements and tendus and things like that. And I managed to master. I'm not exaggerating, I'm not boasting my own trumpet, but I mastered how to use my inner thighs and deep rotators for turnout and really connect. It's why I can stand up now and stand in a fifth and do tendus without much warm-up, because I know exactly where to hold and stand, and that took months of effort. Floor bar, I did a lot of gyrotonics. I did a lot of rehab with my gyrotonics teacher, Elaine Perrin in London, who often teaches at my summer intensives. She's a very special person to me. I've been doing gyrotonics for like 15 years, maybe more. And that, along with the floor bar, and the swimming pool, created an understanding of three-dimensional movement, not so much two-dimensional, which Pilates, you know, can be up and down. Whereas I needed a contrast of doing more three-dimensional stuff and understanding how the hips work, how the inner thighs work, how the deep rotators work. So now, not only did I have flexibility and range in the hips, I also had understanding of how to use the muscles and how to use the deep rotators. So now I feel free. Completely free. I can stand in the center and feel connected with my turnout. I feel stable. I understand how the little toes connect with the entire outside of the legs and go right up the hips. If you've got issues with rolling and you pronate inwards, understand how much that will affect the rest of how your leg works, the rest of how the outside of your hips. You need to be able to spread the little toes and wrap and feel such a sense of reach with the heel and being able to reach away. Often we stand way too much on the ball of the feet and we don't have enough heel connection. So when you tend, you don't have that line energy coming out, which just massively connects with the inner thighs. The inner thighs are absolutely critical here, along with the sensation of wrap, which is why in my classes I go into so much detail on how to stand, on what to feel, because I think these are the things that are massively neglected. How is any kid or any person, especially an adult who starts later, you know, it's not like we're standing on a 9-year-old body where we're like completely soft and like just put us there and we'll work it out. Even so, I would say, you know, we need to be able to explain things better to younger kids. Like just saying turn out, but especially to an adult, turn out more. What does that even mean? Like stand turned out. Okay, how do I even connect? I don't know, which is why I'm hugely passionate about explaining that, both in my classes and on my online platform. So people ask me, like, how did you improve your turnout? Everything is on my online platform, down to the flexibility training, down to the strengthening, and down to the understanding, and down to the detail of how to understand your turnout. Where does it come from? Where does it initiate from? What should you be feeling? All these things are really, really key. So if you find you're struggling with your turnout, number one, it's useful to go see a physiotherapist for them to sort of even just literally analyze your skeleton and be like, yeah, I deem it's possible for you. You're just stiff, or you're just weak here, you know, or whether they can actually say, yes, your ball and socket is this sort of shape. You will expect to improve this much if you start doing the stretching and the strengthening, you know. Just remember this, we can all improve. You know, let me get that quote for you. All right, I can't find the quote exactly, but I found another good one for you. Set your mind on a definite goal and observe how quickly the world stands aside to let you pass. So if turnout is your goal, if turnout is the thing you want to improve, set your mind to it. Set your mind strong on that goal. I'm going to improve my turnout. This is the action I'm going to take to improve my turnout. You know, set the goal, turnout, I want to improve. I want to improve my turnout. And then the 3 steps and 3 layers of action that you are going to take in order to get there. I'm going to stretch and do these stretches every day. The more detailed, the better. I'm going to do these exercises every day. Just watch how deciding. And this is something I repeatedly did as a young dancer. I consistently made decisions. And once I make a decision, I'm strong on them. I don't really go back on my decisions once I've made them. And so really decide what you want to improve. And then watch how things change. Watch how it does improve and you can make it happen. So remember, having the desire and having the faith makes the impossible possible for you. So keep going and don't give up. If someone told you when you were younger you're not going to be a ballet dancer, it's one person's opinion. It's one person's opinion in this huge, gigantic world. If you want to try anyway, try anyway. You decide. You decide when you don't want to do something anymore. Don't let someone else decide. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy also a bit of motivation, check out my podcast, A Dancer's Mindset. I'm sure you'll enjoy it a lot. And I really hope to help you on your turnout journey. Check out my platform, BWI. It's there as a resource. It's there to help many of you with struggles like I did. And I'm really passionate about helping you all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.